Lisa Collins, publisher of LA Focus newspaper, and I am excited to be able to invite you into an interview that I'm doing with Omarosa. You talk in your book about the Trump tweet alerts and that you guys had to have targeting messaging to address them or to at least support them. How difficult was that when half of his tweets are crazy?
So I was a director of communication for the Office of Public Liaison, among my other, many duties. And so as a part of the president's communications team, when we did receive an alert, we had to come up with talking points to combat them or to support them or address them for him and the surrogates. And sometimes I honestly, I'm saying this honestly, I didn't even know what some of the tweets were about. They were just so incoherent and illogical, and they made absolutely no sense. I was sitting in the White House when he tweeted "covfefe." Like, we were like, what? Like, what is that? He literally made up a word, Lisa. And so it was a difficult job, to say the least, trying to be a communications director for Donald Trump.
If the president is crazy as everybody say he is, who is actually running the country? I think a lot of people.
Well, okay. So if we think about it as a train, there are brilliant engineers that make sure that the train goes in whatever direction that the captain tells it to go in. And so there are guardrails that kind of keep the country on track, but certainly we are being led by someone who he legitimately every day diminishes who we are and what we stand for as a nation. We are a laughing stock around the world because of Donald Trump. I'm hoping that we can regain our standing in the country after November the 3rd.
In your estimation, does he truly believe all of the things he says, or what percentage do you think he believes? And what percentage is he just putting on?
Well, Lisa, half of the things he says he doesn't remember anyway. So it's hard to even believe when it comes out of your mouth and he forgets what he said. I'm laughing, but it was terrifying. For one moment, I would walk into the Oval Office in the morning after my senior staff meeting for my debrief with them. And by the afternoon, when we'd have to come over for the press secretary's briefing, he would forget what he told most of us. And so we'd have to kind of, rewrite our messaging and reassess our strategy for the day. By 5 o'clock, we cut on the television and he was saying something completely different, which made being there while he was unraveling, it was terrible, because people kept asking, oh, you should just kind of leave. And then you're like, and leave the country to him, right? You have to have adults in the room with when somebody is being destructive like that. And so it's hard.
Another funny moment from your book is when you said Trump suggested that he be sworn in on the art of the deal. Now people are questioning whether or not he was that good of a businessman ever. What are your thoughts?
Well, the truth about the book and his ghostwriter has been pretty clear that Donald made very little contribution to that book, although he loves to tout the success of the book. And he did, in fact, say that he thought that he should come out with a commemorative edition of The Art of the Deal, and that maybe so that it could have the highest level of visibility, maybe he should be sworn in on it so that everybody watching around the world, the inauguration, could see the book as a part of marketing. So, I don't know what to make. A lot of people ask me to kind of decipher Donald Trump's bizarre behavior, but I think only professional medical professionals like psychologists or psychologists should probably make those assessments.
Now, you bring up a good point, though. That would have been a marketing ploy, a great one. But that's what it would have been. How much of what he does, and that's another question people are thinking about now with his holding things on his properties, how much of what he does is marketing? Him using the presidency to market Trump?
Well, everything is about Trump. Trump is about Trump. And so when he said he wanted to have the G7 convention meeting at his property, is because he wanted to promote Trump properties and the Trump brand. When he goes golfing at his different golf courses, he does that to promote those property. Everything that Donald Trump does is transactional. He does it so that he can get something in return, or if you're going to do something for him, he will, as we saw with the impeachment and the Ukraine situation, it was all quid pro quo. But he always looks to enrich himself in every situation.
Are you sorry that you took the path you did with Trump? Would you have done, looking back, would you have done anything differently?
Well, God has his hand on my life. And I always say that he is the author and finisher of our stories. And I don't know who else could have written a story about a girl who grew up in the Westlake projects, who would go on to, work for not just one US president, but two. And so I seldomly make regrets in terms of the path, because I always pray about decisions that I make, and so God has ordered my steps. The other thing is, I think that anytime you have an opportunity to serve your country, that each of us have a responsibility to do so if we have a chance. And I know that it's not popular sometimes being the only African American woman, particularly in a situation, but Shirley Chisholm said that if there's no seat at the table, pull up one, bring your own seat. Because the truth is, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And so the work that I did for this administration, particularly for this country, in terms of shaping policy as it relates to Black veterans, Black farmers, historically Black colleges and universities, infrastructures in some of our largest cities with the highest population of African Americans, that is work that would not have been done had I not been there. So when you ask me about if I'm sorry about it, no, I think what I have to reflect on is if I missed any opportunity to kind of find a way around Trump's craziness to actually find policies that could actually have long-term benefits. So the HBCU funds will be beneficial for the next 5 years. If I could have found a longer-term solution for the funding shortage that we have for HBCU institutions and students, I would have. For farmers in the Department of Agriculture who continue to not lend on the same levels as their white counterparts, if I could have found a longer term solution for those things, then certainly. The fight for civil rights in the Department of Justice and many of the civil rights offices that had been closed after I left, if I could have found ways to protect those offices, then certainly I would have. But do I regret serving my country? Absolutely no. And in some way, either we are a part of the solution or we are part of the problem.
And I guess part of the reason I'm asking is because you really endured a lot of hate due to the fact that, and people called you names due to the fact that you took a position with Trump. Has that changed for you? Are people treating you differently now? Or is there still some of that left over?
Well, first of all, it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. And the greatest name and title that I have is that being of a child of God. And the persecution of people who have tried to lead change in this world has always been documented and noted. And so I have always gone into unpopular positions and unpopular places and tried to make change. Seldomly do we see change come from comfortable positions. And so the name calling, I think it comes with the territory, right? And so when you decide to go in and take a bold step, that name calling, the people who have never done anything to serve their community, who criticize me, I don't even respond to. Because if you're critical of me, then I challenge those folks who think that they can do better, who think that they can make more of an impact. I challenge them to throw their hat into the ring and try to make a difference and see what it's like leading people. I wasn't making policy just for one city or one state. I had to make policy that impacted every African American in this country. And so in that situation, Lisa, some people will like you, some people will hate you, some people will support you, some people don't. But you have to just follow your principle trust your heart and be guided by your faith that you will, in fact, make the right choices and that those decisions will have a positive effect. And that's what I did. I've been in politics for 20 plus years. And the one thing that I know, the good leaders have always been assassinated in their character, that their approach has always been scrutinized. But seldomly do we hear the critics doing the work themselves. Somebody, Lisa, has to do the work. Somebody has to do the work. We don't get to just sit out 4 years and say, I'll just wait to fight for, health care for Black people after 4 years. You have to be in the thick of things, fighting to protect Obamacare, fighting to protect those children who've been separated from their mothers at the borders, fighting to make sure that we have a better relationship in terms of policing in this country, fighting for stimulus dollars that are as high as trillions and trillions of dollars. In the Small Business Administration, when the payroll protection funds were being distributed, someone has to be in there to make sure that they're a voice for minority and women businesses. And so when people say, oh, none of us should be there, there should be no people of color in the administration, I just kind of shrug my shoulders because I don't know what to say. But somebody has to be bold enough to step up and lead.
All right. Well, good luck. It's great talking to you as always. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
If you like what you saw, Chesney, tell him what to do.
Subscribe, comment below, share, hit the bell notification for icon. Subscribe, like, share, comment below.
And don't forget the bell icon
so you can get the notifications. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks for tuning in and see you later.